Uh, Thank you to everyone for being here tonight, even though we're not live. I want you to know that former Mayor Brar and his family is here, and I think they brought some things to help celebrate tonight. So if you have a few minutes, you can always start with that. I'm sorry to take your thing. And tell me when we're live. Okay, we're live. This is calling to order the regular council meeting of the Middleton Common Council. Prior to roll call, I want to acknowledge the tragedy that happened in our community Sunday night. I learned yesterday morning of the loss of life, and I am heartbroken. It is something that we as elders have been talking to each other, to those in the community, to our neighbors. I do want to thank Alder Nelson for her leadership in working with me, to everyone who's been reaching out, to our families in the city. And I'm just thankful for everyone on this council. You've all been reaching out. I know you have. And we want to thank our law enforcement and emergency responders. I know Alder Nelson feels the same. For their quick action and ongoing efforts, and our families are with the affected families. Our thoughts are with the affected families. I'm hoping in these moments that we are kind to each other in the coming days, and that we all continue to be those good neighbors. It's the one thing I absolutely love about our city, is that everybody cares. I want you to know that Representative Joers and Senator Hasselbein contacted me last night to send their support. They are deeply saddened by this shocking act of violence, and they have no words to encompass a loss like this. And their hearts go out to all those impacted across the community during this incredibly tragic time. I want to share that with you. And it means a lot that they reached out. Representative Pocan's office also reached out, and that their whole office is thinking about the Middleton community. We are on their minds and in their hearts in the wake of this tragedy. So I want to say thank you for everyone being here tonight with your support. And the one thing when you're having these moments is that we have to have moments of joy. And it's hard in these moments. But on the schedule today was a celebration of the years of leadership for Mayor Brar, and his family traveled to be here. So I want to start with this to honor Mayor Brar. And Brian, can you help me?
Yeah, sure. But before we do that, let's do roll call.
Thank you.
Alder Schaefer,
Here.
Alder Wilkes,
Here.
Alder Cole,
Here.
Mayor Kuhn,
Here.
Alder Nelson,
Here.
Alder Jackson,
Here.
Alder Hanairo,
Here.
Alder Lorman,
Here.
Alder Crow is appearing virtually.
I'm here.
Thank you. So just to kind of kick things off, as you can see in the room, past mayors have all had official portraits that have been unveiled in this room, and we've done the same with former Mayor Brar. Before we have Mayor Kuhn read the proclamation, we do the formal unveiling. Just a couple of notes about this. The picture that you're going to see in just a few moments is a 16 by 20 inch frame of walnut wood, conducted by Creative Looks Studio. Derek and April from Creative Look Studio took the photo late last year in November, and we're pleased that the former Mayor Brar has family in town to celebrate this formal unveiling this evening. So turn things over to Mayor Kuhn to read the proclamation, and then we'll invite the mayor and his family up to do the official reveal.
Thank you for that. Whereas it is with great esteem and appreciation that we recognize the dedicated service and outstanding contributions of Gertie Brar, former mayor of our beloved community from 2017 to 2023. And whereas Mayor Brar has exemplified unparalleled commitment to the betterment of our city, championing initiatives that have positively impacted the lives of its residents. And whereas Mayor Brar's unwavering dedication to the cause of workforce housing has ensured that those who labor in our community can afford to call it home, and his continued advocacy for affordable housing through his service on the board of Habitat for Humanity of Dane County continues to uplift countless families. And whereas Mayor Brar has been a steadfast advocate for equitable access to educational and recreational opportunities for all children within our community, envisioning and spearheaded policies that integrate such amenities into new housing developments, thereby enriching the lives of our youth. And whereas Mayor Brar's commitment to environmental sustainability has been exemplary, demonstrated by his proactive engagement with the community to revitalize the city's Sustainability Committee and his tireless efforts to promote the conservation and stewardship of our natural resources. And whereas even beyond his tenure as mayor, Gurdeep has remained actively involved in endeavors to enhance literacy outcomes for children, embodying a continued dedication to the betterment of our community's future generations. And whereas Mayor Brar's service on numerous city committees from 2008 to 2015, including the Conservancy Lands, EMS Commission, Library Board, Youth Commission, and the Sustainability Committee, has been marked by his leadership, wisdom, and unwavering commitment to public service. Now, therefore, I, Emily Kuhn, Mayor of the City of Middleton, Wisconsin, along with the Middleton Common Council, honor and celebrate Gertie Brar for his exceptional leadership, unwavering dedication, and profound impact on our community. May his legacy inspire future generations to continue the noble work of building a more inclusive, sustainable, and vibrant city for all. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve this proclamation honoring former Mayor Brar.
Is there a second?
Schaefer seconds.
Any comments? All those in favor of approving the proclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, we're going to take a couple of pictures. I think that he wanted us all.
Victor, you want to come? Sure. Should take the proclamation on.
Great. Mayor, we wanted some photos with your family and wife, and then photos with you, current mayor, your family, and photographers. I think that'll capture. All right, ready? 3, 2. Okay. Oh, that's how it's feel. Okay.
Anyway, the kids did a great job.
Here in April from Creative Studios, are you?
April Pinchuk. Okay.
Former Mayor Judy, I mean, I think we're the only former mayor to make it.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
That's nice.
Okay, let me do one last, portrait. Anybody I missed? There, or you?
No, it's great. So, that's the one person, he is, could you come here or not? She's 101 years old and she's so inspiring. And I never thought that she would come here, but, I mean, simply incredible. So she's a great motivator. So.
Might need more chairs. Brian, push that computer back.
You should have taken this.
Well, I think it's back too. She just turned 101 years old only about 10 weeks ago.
So cute.
And the.
Thank you.
We do a couple comments.
Hello, everyone. I'm really humbled. I'm really humbled. You guys are absolutely amazing. You are absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
What an honor to be here with you. And I know from experience that serving on the city council as an elder or mayor is a big job. Let's give a big hand to Mayor Emily and our elders for their hard work on behalf of our city. I would like to recognize my wife of 47 years.
Wow.
She puts up with me every day.
Oh,
Our daughter, Gloria, she's a professor of molecular and cell biology at UC Berkeley. She's here with her husband, Chris, and with her two amazing children. They're not in graduate school yet. And our son, Victor, he's a professor of physics at UW-Madison. And there's our 3-year-old his 3-year-old daughter, Millie. So she's, and his wife, Natalie, and 1-year-old daughter, we couldn't make it. Naturally, they're in bed, so the little one. So thanks to all of you who are here or watching at home. Middleton is a great city, no question about it, full of amazing people. We have lived here for over 41 years and plan to stay. Our city is fortunate to have highly qualified and hardworking staff all around here, starting with our city administrator, Brian Gatto. It's staff which makes things happen. Thanks to every one of you. Now, the next question is, how did I get in? I'm a geneticist. How did I get involved into city government? It started when residents of District 2 had concerns that they felt were not being addressed. And there was Dr. Laura Goose and Rhonda Faith. Rhonda, could you stand up here? They were so persistent. They just, the first time I said, well, I'm having a great time. Why would I want to do it? But they came back and again and again, and they persuaded me, and, here we are. Um, so they asked me if I would consider this wild idea of running for a city council elder. And at the time, I didn't know much about the city council, but I dove right in and served the District 2 elder for 9 years before getting elected mayor and serving 2 terms. Serving on the city government was an opportunity to make things happen, to set new priorities based on what people wanted. These 15 years were most rewarding in so many ways. They were often challenging, but I guess I like challenges. No question about it. So in 2018, flood complicated during the first term, the COVID complicated things during the second term, but we got through it. Working hard to support Middleton residents. Every single day, I focused on the goals I had promised. We did accomplish them, including repairing the Pheasant Branch Conservancy, which finally happened, completed last year after many years of planning and budgeting. The biggest lesson which I learned being on the council, either at the elder or mayor, was that it takes much longer to accomplish things than I realized at first. There are so many rules to follow and many committees to provide their input. It has to be done right. Mayor can't just say, well, do this. It doesn't happen that way. So it was a joy to go around the city and meet so many wonderful citizens. And it has been really a joy of my life. Would I do anything differently? Not much, except starting everything much sooner, knowing the length of the approval process. So some of you have asked what I have been doing since leaving. My wife and I have been spending more time with our grandchildren. They're simply awesome. So Dorothy volunteers at the Braille Library in Madison as a Braille transcriber. I worked with other folks. I'm really passionate about education. So got 2 projects done. The first requiring teaching personal financial literacy to all Wisconsin high school students. And the number 2 was working with the other groups, improving the reading skill of all Wisconsin school students by teaching phonics, the science of reading. I also joined the board of Habitat for Humanity. Our plates are still full. A lot is happening, and we are both happy to continue to be active citizens of our great city. It has been an honor, and all of you are so awesome, and you have enriched our life over many, many times. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You want to give some brief comments? I guess this may be the time to do it. So, Robert Burke.
Thank you. Hello. Benjamin Franklin once said, if you want something done, ask a busy person. That statement probably rings true for all of you, elected officials, city staff, and volunteers who give of your precious time working to improve our beautiful city. It is not exactly thankless work, but the rare thanks that you do receive should probably be stated a little more often. I would like to give my thanks today to past Mayor Gurdeep Brar for his dedication to our community. I first became friends with Gurdeep in 2007. My neighbors were talking to one another. As the mayor mentioned, we were looking for someone who would be willing to run against our then alderperson, who we felt was not representing the will of our neighborhood. I, like Gurdeep, was asked if I would consider running. I thought about it, but at the time in 2007, I did not feel I could dedicate the necessary time. I was too busy with work and with my young family. Gurdeep was also asked to run. He was even busier than me with work, with family, and with his many, many, many volunteer activities. But he stepped up and he ran. He knocked on doors and he introduced himself, and he made a point of getting to know everyone he met. based on the fact that everybody knew him, he kind of won by a landslide. He was our alderperson for 9 years from 2008 to 2017. Then he put in the additional time and legwork, this time to introduce himself to people throughout every portion of the city of Middleton, and they elected him to be their mayor in 2017. During his 6 years as mayor, Gurdeep guided the city through good times and through hardships. There was the horrible flooding in 2018, as well as the paradigm shooting. There were the years of work to rebuild and improve the Pheasant Branch Creek Conservancy. It was a lot of work, but Gurdeep always continued to talk up the city and the great people here. And the city has continued to flourish, improving every year. Gurdeep, I would like to thank you for your dedication to the city of Middleton. Thank you and your entire family for the vast amounts of time that you have given to help make the city what it is today. We greatly appreciate it, and you. Thank you.
Well, that was a hard speech to follow, but Robert was right about Gurdeep getting out and meeting people all the time. I just want to tell a story about a couple stories. My brother-in-law was up from Illinois, and he was out for a walk in the park. And he came back to the house and said, "Man, there was some guy that chased me down on the sidewalk and was asking me questions. I don't know who he was. I didn't know what he wanted." I said, "Oh, that's Gurdeep. Don't worry about that. He's a good guy." And he goes, "Oh, okay." And so, like a couple years ago, every time I went for a walk, I'd run into Gurdeep. He'd be walking and we'd talk. And then my son and I said, "Well, let's go down to Lakeview Park." So we go down to Lakeview, and here he is gardening in Lakeview. I'm going, "Man, oh man." So we saw him gardening over at Tiedemann's too. And we were at dinner, and we said, "Boy, we see Gurdeep everywhere." We said, "Oh, okay." Well, and then my one son went down to the Union. And then that night we got a phone call. He goes, "Hey, guess who's down at the Union with me?" I'm like, "Gurdeep?" He goes, yeah. So I just want to know that he did go out and meet everyone, and we thank him for representing us and not telling us what to do. Gurdeep really, really loved the city. So thank you.
Mayor, council members, former colleagues, city staff, Mayor Karofsky, great to see you here, and the Brar family. Great to see you, Gloria and Victor and Dorothy, and good neighbors and friends of Gurdeep. I'm Mike Davis, the former city administrator, and I had the opportunity to work with Gurdeep for 15 years, the first 9 of which were on as a city council member, and then 6 years as mayor. And I think what I remember best about Gurdeep and his term of service is the always friendly smile and endearing way that he sought out advice and opinions from people in the community, and genuinely wanting to know how the community could improve. He also worked really hard to have a more formal appointment process for our committee members and to diversify our committee structure as well. And, working along with city staff and the council, as the mayor, we accomplished a lot of great things in your 6 years tenure, and some that came to mind, some of which have already been mentioned, were the recovery of the flood of 2018 and the exorbitant amount of work that we all went through to deal with FEMA, and Bill Burns in particular, but the entire city staff. The comprehensive plan adoption was a major milestone for the city, the first time in, I believe, since 2006. Major road work that we caught up with in the planning and now execution of Pleasant View Road, which is probably going to be the single largest infrastructure project in the city's history. And the North Mendota Trail, which is tying together the northeast side of the community with the main body of the community. And the Stone Horse Green, which is a shining star in the middle of our downtown. And major investments in the city employ compensation and equity, because without great employees, these things could not happen. So with that, I will say, I think aside from his community work and the many great things he's done, I'm a fellow member of the Kiwanis group with Gurdeep as well, is the legacy that he has with his own children. And he always gives credit to Dorothy. But it really takes a great father and mother to raise children. And you've done an outstanding job there too. So I salute you and congratulate you and wish you continued fun in your kind of retirement.
Well, I like to mention one more person here. Boy, this is awesome. They have been, Peggy, so Zimmerman, I didn't really think that she would come. I mean, but she's amazing, and thank you for bringing her too. So she has, she's never afraid to provide. Do you want to say anything or?
Just that every time I've run into her, he's been more than friendly. He always says hi and how are you doing and et cetera, et cetera. I've never heard a bad word come out of his mouth. He always smiled and asked how you're doing, et cetera. So he's certainly been a good mayor.
Thank you so much. Anybody else have brief comments? Anybody else who may want to say at this time?
Well, we just want to say thank you.
Okay.
Well,
we got all the
council and I want to
goodies
say
made,
thank you.
My wife was kind to pick up some of those sweets, and you're all welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, everyone. You guys do a great job. And thank you to every one of you. What the stand is right or left or right? Thank you, gang.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I was watching that.
They should have hung a nail.
I know.
Yeah. In front of everybody, that'd be the worst.
Crash and burn.
I know, right?
Hammer through the wall.
Yeah.
I know, I've like, one of my first apartments, I thought I'd be handy and fix the closet rack myself.
Yeah.
Made it worse.
They want to read.
Coffee soothing sweat. Yeah, I would like that. Okay, we're gonna start in about a minute. We're gonna do the public comments. Know that we're a little out of order, but we do want you to gather and take your sweets. Many of you are waiting for the public hearing. I appreciate your patience. As we have a large agenda, we're hoping that Mayor Barr and his
Guests.
the visitors with them will have time to exit, and then we can work on governing. Just gonna wait that half minute. Okay, I'm gonna circle back to our earlier discussion. We had an alder ask if he could have some time for the public comments. So Alder Jackson.
As, before we get started with the public comments, I just ask if Madam Mayor, if she doesn't mind, if we could just have a moment of silence for the two young children that were tragically, life was cut off on this week. I thank you, Madam Mayor, Council, for this time. As the mayor said earlier, we just thank the people that have been reaching out to us and have just embraced us and said that they stand with us in our time of grief and here to support us. I want to recognize two of the individuals I believe that is in the building. I think Way Forward has come forth, Leslie Hubbard. Leslie, if you could just come up for a few minutes and just introduce Way Forward. We have asked Way Forward to step in and to go out to Lakeview, go to that community, to embrace them, offer whatever service they can. It's not just a family that suffered. That whole Sunday night, the incident happened. Monday morning, and the mayor knows I have a passion for these things. I was out there knocking doors, and so many people cried. It's just been hard. I haven't slept in 2 nights. The people that cried that wasn't even involved. So I reached out to Way Forward. Hey, what could we do? What could y'all do to support the city? To go out there and reach out to those people in that community.
Yes, thank you. So Way Forward Resources has been part of our community for over 40 years, formerly known as Middleton Outreach Ministry. And our mission is to bring the community together to create food and housing security. And we really believe that a big part of our mission is bringing the community together. So we appreciate the way that our community has rallied with past issues to support us and to support the community. And we intend to continue to be part of this community and to provide services to help people with food and housing needs and to help create that stability and strength in the community. And we know it's through all of your efforts and your engagement that helps us get there. So we have a food pantry that provides food to all of Dane County, and our housing programs serve Middleton, Cross Plains, West Madison. And are there other particulars? We have case managers that are able to meet with people and help direct them to resources to fill gaps in their homes. We have a program that specifically works with children in schools to try to help keep children stable in one school so they aren't having to move between schools.
And we definitely thank you, Leslie. I myself have reached out to Principal Don Ricks of Middleton High School. I'm reaching out to this Salt Trail principal, and we're going to try to come together collaboratively to make sure, because even in knocking doors, I see there's resources that they need in that development. I'll be working with my peer, Alder Cole, which is her district, to make sure that we can really, we don't know what happened. That's Troy and them to do their job. But as moving around that neighborhood, there's a neighborhood that is in need of food, resources, and resources that y'all can send them to, because mental health is a real problem in that community.
Thank you. And yes, we are honored to continue to partner with the city and with the school district to meet the needs in our community.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out. I believe that from the Middleton Community Church, Pastor Zana is here. We're going to ask her to come forward. Through a connection, I've connected with Pastor Zana. I don't know if many of the council know, but I'm an ordained minister myself. So I've connected with Pastor Zana, and I've asked her to come out and speak tonight. And she's going to support the mayor and the city to see what we can do to embrace. That community needs a hug right now. That whole community needs the arms wrapped around them. There are people in that community, their children went to school with these children. They were just out there that morning playing with these children, and they are really, I have a former employee who lived over there, and I kind of thought she was caught in the midst of it. And when I called her, I had to go over there because she fell apart. And she fell apart in my arms when I came to the door. She said, I was just talking to her. I can't believe. So the community is really damaged over there. Mm-hmm. And I'm asking, being a minister, I'm reaching out to all the faith-based community to stand with me to support that community. So Pastor Zana.
Thank you. I'm Pastor Zana Tomley, and as Alder Jackson said, I'm the pastor at Middleton Community Church, United Church of Christ, a congregation that has been in and a part of the Middleton community for a very long time. And I also have gotten a lot of calls and had a lot of conversations over the last 48 hours, and a lot of parents who are holding their children tight and having to answer really big questions, and to offer whatever answers they have, and they don't have answers. And I don't have a lot of answers when we look at the violence that is so prevalent in so many of our communities and that continues to happen. And so I want to say that I am here, and Middleton Community Church is here for anyone who is in need of a place of connection and belonging, and that I want to echo what Alder Jackson is saying. And the answer I do have is that I do believe that we need to be better connected, that we need to be closer to one another in a world that often idolizes independence as the goal. We need to say that that is not the goal, that community is the goal, and that neighborhood is the goal. So thank you to all of the alders who are taking these phone calls and who are being there for people. Thank you to those who are at doors and reaching out. I think that Alder Jackson has some more information to share about a vigil tomorrow afternoon, evening, and I encourage you to be there and to surround those who are close to this tragedy in the best way that we can, by being there, by being present, and by showing them love. So my prayers are with all of you and with all of us in the Middleton community.
Thank you, Pastor Zana. As Pastor Zana said, I will be holding a prayer vigil tomorrow at the site from 5:30 to 6:30. I'm connected with the AACC Council of Churches out of Madison. Madison is supporting us. A lot of the clergy members going to come out tomorrow to support. Also, Anesis counseling services. I've connected them with the mayors. They're going to meet with the mayor. They want to come out and support. Maddie Reese, connecting the dots with Maddie, who was here when I got sworn in. She's coming out to support. These people are from Madison. My wife as well, Lisa Jackson, who works the Women of Worth Walking in Wisdom organization. There are going to be many organizations that's coming out to support tomorrow, and they're standing with the mayor and the city concerning the situation and see what we can do to move this forward. So there will be a visual out there tomorrow. I've spoken with the Middleton police. They said they don't mind if anybody wants to come and put a teddy bear out there, drop off some flowers. I'm working with Troy to connect with the family. Anybody who decided to help this family out with the services of these children, they're receiving monetary gifts. I believe Principal Ricks from Cromie High School called me and said he's going to be out there. So I'm just asking those that can be there to support. Let's hug this community and let's stay in this community. Let's support Alder Cole. This is her district. Support this community, get through this tragic thing. Those people are hurting. I had a person call me immediately today and was like, I'm glad to hear that you were knocking doors. I wasn't home, but I would love to talk to you. I would love to hear from the mayor of the city. My daughters was playing in the front yard when this happened. And I don't know what to do with them. So I said, we're there for you. Last but not least, reading a statement from Diane Hesselbaum and Alex George. We are deeply saddened by this shocking act of violence. There's no words to encompass a loss like this, and our hearts go out to all those impacted across the community during this incredibly tragic time. Alex George has reached out, Diane Hesselbaum, Senator Samba is going to try to be out there tomorrow. So I'm here to let the city of Middleton know, the governor's office, the Capitol, many people are standing behind us and supporting us, and they want to do whatever they can. Alex asked me, I spoke to him today, what can we do from the state level to help you guys in Middleton so that this will never cross this road again? So I just want to thank you. I thank the mayor for her time, and those that can be there tomorrow, just please try to get out, stop in for a few minutes, and just show the community we're here, we care, you matter. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate everyone. Thank you. It's really important. And thank you for taking the time tonight and to hear these updates. It's very important for our community to know that we are here to support. We are your electeds. We want you to know we hear you, we care. And in this moment, all of our hearts are breaking. And we're going to try through these days to come to just work together and to be better. And we're going to all try together. I will say that my children do go to Sock Trail. So as a parent, I had to have that conversation. So to all the Sock Trail parents, just stay strong. Brian, we're moving to public hearings. So if you could help me.
Okay, the first item under public hearing is 7:30. After 7:30 p.m., ordinances to repeal and recreate Chapter 10 zoning ordinance and official zoning map, Chapter 22 sign code, and Chapter 33 outdoor lighting code, PC 11-14-23, 12-12-23, City Council January 2nd, 24, City Council January 16th, 24, City Council February 6th, 24, Plan Commission February 13th, 24. So you've got a list of names up front, to just call out those names and then maybe give the first two so that the next person's ready to go.
So I'd like to read the names of people who do not wish to speak at this point. Sean Green wanted to oppose the item but didn't want to speak regarding zoning. Aaron McKenzie opposes zoning but did not wish to speak. Dorothy Osterfund opposes the issue of zoning, does not wish to speak, is also available to answer questions. Sherry Caves or Cavis, I apologize if I blew that, on the zoning item, opposes the item but doesn't wish to speak. And Todd Freeber opposes Chapter 10 rezoning of 2159 Allen Boulevard but does not wish to speak. Now on to people who do wish to speak. I'm going to give the first three names. If you want to, you can kind of queue up. Andy Soderholm, Jen Soderholm, and Megan Coughlin. And just a suggestion, if we can keep the comments around 3 minutes, we appreciate it
No problem.
very much. If you don't mind, please, as usual, state your name and your address.
All right. My name is Andy Soderholm, and my family and I have called the swamp at 6210 Lakeview Boulevard home since the summer of 1969. Just a few questions to you people there. How many of you were born here in Middleton? Anyone? Anyone go to school here? Does anyone work here? Okay. I've done all three. I've lived here my entire life, worked at a company here for the past 38 years. I have been in Middleton for virtually the entire time. If the efforts fail to stop this development, we would like to enjoy some of the same privileges that exist on Middleton Beach Road, namely having our boulevard blocked at the intersection of Allen Boulevard. It was a nice break from the speeding cars racing down our quiet street, as it was blocked for several months while construction was being done on the nearby sewage pumping station. Secondly, another concern is the previous stated 5-year construction period that was listed in one of the previous meetings. There should be some sorts of limits put on the duration and hours of construction I don't think it's reasonable to have to listen to backup beepers and other heavy machinery for such an extended period of time. I hope it doesn't happen, but you have to think about this, other things if it does go through. Thank you.
Thank you. After Megan Coughlin, we're gonna line up Douglas. Is it Caves or Caves? Caves? Yeah, so if you want to head to the line, you are in the queue. And now Jen Soderholm. Thank you.
My name's Jen Soderholm. I live at 6210 Lakeview Boulevard. And I'm here to speak in opposition to the change in the zoning for 2159 Allen Boulevard to mixed avenue use. I understand the need for affordable housing in Middleton, but I don't believe large luxury complexes with retail space will accomplish that. Nor do I believe anything like that would be a good fit for our neighborhood. I listened to the meeting last week, February 13th, regarding the planning apartments for the corner of the University and Gateway. During the conversations, the developer discussed the difficulty leasing the retail spaces and that they would need things to be pretty specific before they would even consider it. The mayor agreed and even talked about how down the street in Madison, they can't lease the retail spaces. They were concerned with how the proposed buildings would fit into the neighborhood and if it would flow well. I don't believe that the same consideration has been taken into account for Allen Boulevard. And I think that it would be very beneficial to have an environmental study done before changing the zoning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Megan Coughlin.
Hello, everyone. I'm Megan Coughlin. I live at 6218 Lakeview Boulevard. Thank you for having me. I'm a very new member to the Middleton community. My family and I just purchased our home there in August of this year. Really grateful to be part of this community, especially tonight in light of the recent events. I too have a daughter at Sauk Trail. So it's tough. That's not what we're talking about today. So I relocated my family here from Chicago. We spent the last 17 years there. They were born there, raised there. Now they're 12 and 8. We watched a lot of large buildings go up in our neighborhood, watched the impact that it had on our community, how it affected traffic, foot traffic, noise pollution, and light pollution as well. And we relocated here specifically to this part of town for a more peaceful, slow-paced life. Really grateful that Lakeview Boulevard at this time has a really special view of the lake and the green space, and my kids are constantly astonished at how many stars they can see. And I guess our concern with this property is that it will be a physical barrier between us and that enjoyment that everyone on our street has right now. And we're concerned about light pollution, noise pollution, and all of the things that come with a large development as well. So opposed to the large property and zoning considerations. Thank you.
Thank you. After Doug Caves, we have George Benton, Bill Connors, and Dan Baroud. Go ahead.
Doug Caves, 2317 Middleton Beach Road. I support high-density housing in any sizable city. I've been involved in the development of several high-density residential developments on Madison's west side in my career. But I want to say on this particular site, the kind of housing that's being proposed and that could be built under the rezoning simply doesn't fit. There's green space on two sides. There's single-family housing on the other two sides. There's nothing tall. It simply does not fit. And I would urge the council to find something that better fits some kind of lower density development for this site. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is George Benton. I live at 2167 Middleton Beach Road with my wife. I have real concerns that the environmental studies have not been done yet. Part of it is that I have a piece of property along Middleton Beach Road that has a storm drain running along the north edge of it. It's the only storm drain that I know about that the city of Middleton has that in that area. So we're draining from up towards University Avenue and down Allen Boulevard and whatever. I really think that stormwater effects that would come into play with a large development on 2159 Allen Boulevard is going to seriously affect the homes along Middleton Beach Road. And I have a very profound hope that my basement doesn't become a retention pond as a result of the development being proposed. Thank you.
Bill Connors.
Hello, I'm Bill Connors. I'm with Smart Growth Greater Madison, 25 West Main Street, 5th floor, Suite 33, Madison. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. On behalf of Smart Growth Greater Madison, I first want to say that we think there are many parts of the new zoning code that should streamline the process for reviewing and improving real estate development projects, and that's a good thing for people who want to live in Middleton. However, Smart Growth respectfully requests that you make two changes to the bird-friendly glass provisions in the new zoning code. First, we request that you change the spacing of the pattern on dot pattern glass from 2 inches by 2 inches to 2 inches by 4 inches. In ordinances around the country, the 2-inch by 4-inch pattern is more commonly specified, and consequently, glass manufacturers produce much more glass with the 2-inch by 4-inch pattern. Glass with the 2-inch by 2-inch pattern is a special order and takes far longer to obtain, and the delay from a special order adds costs to projects. Second, we request that you change many, but not all, of the bird-friendly glass standards from mandatory to recommended. Allow developers to make a case why it is needed and is not needed in some locations in the city, or because of the way they have designed their building, or because of other special considerations. The most common bird-friendly glass, which has an etched dot pattern, is nearly 3 times as expensive as glass without the dot pattern. And if this low E glass, the dots cannot be etched on the surface where they're usually etched. So low E glass with a dot pattern, again, is a special order, resulting in extra costs from the delay. Smart Growth has no objection to making some of the bird-friendly glass provisions mandatory immediately, such as the requirement to use bird-friendly glass on glass railings or sky bridges between buildings. But for the general provision for bird-friendly glass on the first 60 feet of a facade, we urge you to make that part of the recommended rather than mandatory, at least until you've had a chance, some time to study whether there are parts of the city where making bird-friendly glass mandatory is imperative because of the frequency of bird strikes. Bird-friendly glass can add hundreds of thousands of dollars to the cost of a new building. The developers and investors must be confident that they can pass that cost on to the tenants and higher rents, or the development project simply won't go forward. Even in the current high rent environment, there are potential projects that are barely financially feasible and will cease to be feasible if you add hundreds of thousands of dollars of cost to them through additional regulations. When the number of development projects decreases, the large gap between housing supply and housing demand in Dane County will persist. Simply put, you can't have it all. I'm almost done. You can't help close the gap between housing supply and demand while you're adding substantial costs through more regulations. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. After Dan Baroud, we have Pat Friber and Rick Lemon.
Hello, Dan Baroud, 6203 Lakeview Boulevard. Thank you for your time and, more importantly, for your thoughtful consideration and deliberation of my comments as well as those of my fellow citizens. I urge you to reconsider your proposed zoning for 2159 Allen Boulevard because of a logical, fact-based approach to the situation. As such, I emailed a lengthy summary of some issues that I have with the proposed zoning earlier today, and I hope to greatly summarize and expand on those issues with the short time that I have now. First, the soil composition and drainage of the site based on DNR data, as well as anecdotal evidence from the past 60 years of housing in that area of Middleton, is not conducive to any large-scale development. This issue has been discussed in depth multiple times, and I feel that with the dense zoning on this site, you are inviting developers to fail, as you know it would be extremely expensive to try to build a large-scale development on this site, as well as the unknown damage that it will cause to the already tenuous relationship that many homeowners in the area have with the existing groundwater table. Second, as I detailed in my letter, there is a significant question as to the intentions of the planning director in guiding the council to utilize the highest density possible for this property. And that's regarding the conversations that she had regarding the lower density resulting in higher impervious surface because of the public infrastructure that would be required. I won't go into the detail here. I went into some of that in my email, but I don't see how even with increased unaccounted for public infrastructure under a less intense zoning, that's even possible. I'm open to having a discussion on this to understand where the math works from her point of view, but I cannot agree with the statements at this point. Third, in the proposed MUA zoning language, and I quote, "This district is intended to permit areas generally on established commercial corridors that are or are planned to become mixed use in character and to establish standards that are compatible with existing mix of land uses and redevelopment objectives," end quote. Given that this property is located immediately adjacent to multiple parks and conservancies and directly across Allen Boulevard and Middleton Beach Road from one-story apartments and single-family homes, there is nothing about this property that implies it is within an established commercial corridor. These adjacent properties also point to this proposed zoning as not within the existing mix of land uses. Try as some of you might, the corner of Allen and University is far enough from this property that it is not related to the existing land uses for this property. And the north end of Allen, separated from this property on both sides of Allen by conservancy and parkland, removes this property from the established commercial corridor that does exist on the north end of Allen. As such, MUA zoning in its definition conflicts with itself if it is applied to this property. Fourth, Middleton has touted itself as the good neighbor city for decades. This process has been anything but that. The neighbors to this property have tried in vain now to make themselves heard, to have substantive discussions regarding the proposed changes, and to look for compromise, as well as several of the alders and plan commission members. But several plan commission members, the mayor, and city councilors have been adamant in their push for the maximum possible density on the property. The volume of the statements in opposition to this proposal have even prompted several of the commissioners and councilors to grow frustrated with the activism surrounding this property, while questioning why there has not been such activism with other developments and or changes to the zoning and comprehensive plan. I would suggest that there has not been such vocal opposition to the rest of the zoning or comprehensive plan because we largely agree with the proposed changes. Why would we devote significant time, energy, and effort to agree with what we agree with? We're just not going to bring it up. The reason there has been such outcry around this site is that it is not an insignificant or even a moderate change to the land use for this site, but is a monumental neighborhood shifting and irrevocable proposal that the neighborhood is trying desperately to temper. We are opposing this because once this massive change is made, there is no going back. There will not be the ability for the city to realize its mistake in a couple of years and go back to a lighter zoning, because then the property owner will be able to argue the city is removing value from the property. The development that's being negotiated behind the scenes will be built, and there will be no rebuilding of the rift between neighbors, between residents in the city, and between the city and the environment. Thank you.
Pat Fraber, 6206 Lakeview Boulevard, opposing the rezoning of 2159 Allen Boulevard.
A lot of what I've had here has already been said, but I'll just re-say it again. First, I would like to clear up the assumption that only Middleton Beach Road residents are opposed to the rezoning of 2159 Allen Boulevard. I and others have sent many emails and stood at this podium for common council meetings, sharing our views in opposition to the proposed zoning. Maybe the emails didn't get forwarded to the appropriate people, therefore seeming as if no one else cares. Let there be no mistake, we do care. During the February 13th Plan Commission meeting, Mayor Kuhn verified the height of the proposed development on 6300 University Avenue. The current building is 2 stories. The proposed is for 4 stories. The mayor responded that the neighborhood is used to some height so that it does flow. 2959 Allen Boulevard has Marshall Park to the south, Conservancy to the north. How does zoning this property, mixed-use avenue, create a flow with what surrounds it? I am not opposed to new developments. We have at least 4 new apartment developments in the works within a half mile of my neighborhood. These developments are in areas that already are built up with commercial and apartment buildings. What I am opposed to is taking land that is designated Houghton Muck by the DNR and rezoning it to mixed-use avenue. Could a 5-story building be built on it? Sure. But the question is, should it? Is it the right thing to do for this specific property? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Rick Lemon. My wife Tina and I have lived at 2519 Middleton Beach Road for nearly 44 years. We are opposed to the high-density, high-rise zoning proposed for 2159 Allen Boulevard. The mixed-use avenue designation allows for up to a 6-story building occupying 80% lot coverage. This proposal is just unsatisfactory. I'm completely mystified that Alder Cole and Mayor Kuhn are in favor of this maximum development when dozens of their constituents have spoken out in opposition. Alder Winiro has set out to convince all the council members that this high density is desirable. Interestingly, at the January 6th Common Council meeting, she wondered why there was so much objection to 5 stories versus 3 stories, as the difference was only 2 stories, she said. Well, by that logic, let's just make it 3 stories. We'll all go home. That's mixed-use neighborhood, in case anybody's taking notes. Now, Alder Winiro and Mayor Kuhn have come up with a crazy statement that if we don't cooperate with the current developers, the city of Madison will buy the lot and put a 9-story structure on it. This is fear-mongering at its finest. Although possible, according to my legal counsel, the odds of this scenario are incredibly remote. We want to thank Alder Wokos for her poignant January 5th letter to the mayor and council members where she states, quote, "This whole discussion of the comprehensive plan has been bollocks from the beginning." She also states, and I quote, "We as a council made a mess of this matter. Now you have the opportunity to clean up this mess." Of all the public discussions regarding the new zoning codes and the zoning map, the 2159 Allen Boulevard site has created the most opposition from constituents. You've heard it again tonight. We've had dozens and dozens of citizens speak against this. My notes say 40 citizens is probably way more. They've spoken publicly at these council meetings, and Mayor Kuhn has received over 800 emails opposing development, not just from Middleton Beach Road, but from all of Middleton. Yet the Plan Commission and the City Council have chosen to ignore all these citizens and the city's own Water Resource Management Committee's recommendation to limit impervious surface to no more than 35%. We want to thank Alder Jackson, Alder Lorman, Alder Schaefer, and Alder Wokos for attempting to put some restraint on the development of this site. We ask that you do the right thing and delay designating the zoning category for the 2159 Allen Boulevard site. Now, I'm going to take 10 seconds of my precious 3 minutes for time to for complete silence for all of you to contemplate the impact of your actions for generations to come. Thank you.
Next, we have Matt Reeds, Gretchen Erdman Hermans, and Deborah Weitzel.
Thank you, Mayor, and all the persons for the opportunity to speak. My name is Matt Reitz. I'm the Executive Director of formerly Madison Audubon, now Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance. We are at 211 South Patterson in Madison. I represent thousands of members throughout this area, many residents of the city of Middleton who care about natural resources, who care about birds, and I'm here to speak a little bit about the bird safe glass design standards. We are, as an organization, we really very deeply understand all the threats that birds face, as well as the many solutions available to reduce or mitigate those impacts. And also the extreme value that birds and natural resources present to residents of this city and far beyond. So this city is within a major wildlife corridor, so within the Great Mississippi Flyway. It's chock-a-block with incredible natural features. And Dane County has the highest bird diversity of any county in the state. We get a lot of birds here. And the problem of bird window strikes is really well known. The data are very clear. Up to 1 billion birds every year are killed by window strikes in the US alone. That's happening here. It's happening all through Dane County. It's happening in Middleton. We have our own program, a citizen science-based program that goes out and documents these window strikes. They happen everywhere. They happen city center, Madison. They happen in surrounding areas. They happen in residential areas. They happen everywhere. It's not a problem that needs further study. Their birds are dying wherever there are glass facades. So employing bird safe design is known to really reduce these numbers. So the proposal that you've made, 2x2 bird, the dots on glass works. It's been shown to work. 2x4, not nearly as effective. So this works, and that's why cities around the country are implementing required standards that for bird safe glass and other bird safe mitigation solutions, including New York City, which is, one of the largest cities in the world, and has done this with much stricter requirements and standards throughout all 5 boroughs for existing buildings as well as new construction. So, so critics often cite that there are increased costs to glass. If you want to do a one-to-one swap of the glass that you have with bird safe glass, there's probably increased costs. But you can build a bird safe glass building, especially at the design phase, for no extra cost. But the other thing that critics don't mention is that there are really significant costs that residents of Middleton are already incurring, and that is with the status quo. That is with birds that are dying. Because birds provide incredible service that is being done for free. There's a huge economic, they're part of a tourism industry, they're part of a bird watching industry that generates billions of dollars in the US every year, especially in Wisconsin, which has incredible bird diversity. They provide ecosystem services, pollination, nutrient cycling, pest control. They do that all for free. And they're also intimately tied with mental and physical health. So they're providing all of these services for free. So the cost of losing birds continually for no good reason is a cost that the citizens have been bearing for a long time. And this is a very preventable way to simply reduce those costs. So I applaud you for taking this on. This widespread human-caused problem is significant. It's very preventable, and it's been happening for decades. And just passing these simple bird-safe glass and design required standards is a great step toward living in a sustainable and progressive community. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gretchen Erdman Hermans. I live at 3705 Mandamus Court. I'm a member of the Planning Commission, and I'm speaking tonight on the proposed bird safe glass ordinance, but I'm not speaking on behalf of the Planning Commission. When creating policy, it's important to maintain consistency with previous work. When developing the zoning ordinances, I specifically look to compliance with the comprehensive plan, which is a set of strategic guiding principles and specific action items to direct Middleton's growth. The proposed bird-safe building ordinance is consistent with the values, goals, and action items adopted in the 2023 Comprehensive Plan. Specifically, land use goals to protect natural resources and green city goals with stewardship of nature, the stated community values for sustainability, and short-term action GC4A to create a bird-friendly building ordinance that reduces bird collision mortality in all new developments. Furthermore, it coordinates objectives with action GP6G, best practices for preserving dark sky, park actions to preserve threatened species and to increase the biodiversity index. And since many bird-friendly design elements also generate greater building efficiency, the bird-friendly design ordinance supports action GP9A on net zero emphasis. Although bird-friendly glass costs more than standard glass, it is an insignificant impact on the total cost of building and will not impact affordable housing. The cost of glass is only a quarter of the cost of a window. The rest is framing and labor. Windows account for only 2% of total building costs. According to a report by Muhlenberg College Department of Ornithology, which ran calculations of various types of office buildings, the average cost of incorporating bird-safe glass is only 0.38%. I ran calculations on the average home and found it to be 0.25%. The estimate for the U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis was $500,000 to $1 million, which is less than 0.1% increase for this 240,000 square foot building clad entirely in glass, which cost over $1.06 billion. This fraction of an increase is easily incorporated during the design phase. To put this in perspective, the industry average minimum overrun is 16%. Overrun is the expected increased cost of materials and labor from the time of design to building completion. A standard 20% overrun is typically built into financing requests. Furthermore, some measures to create a bird-friendly building do not even increase the cost of a building at all, such as reducing the amount of glass. Decision process. Our ordinance is minimal in glass coverage requirements and liberal in choice of materials and methods to achieve lower collisions, striking a balance between cost and benefit. The proposed ordinance is consistent with the 2023 Comprehensive Plan to develop as a green city with stewardship towards nature. It is also consistent with Madison's ordinance, bringing us in line with our nearest neighbor. By adopting the ordinance, we would be supporting national and international legislation protecting migratory birds and threatened species. And if I have one more second, I also don't support avenue mixed use on 2159 Allen Boulevard.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Weitzel, and I live at 6602 Whittlesey Road in Middleton. I'm on the board of the Friends of Pheasant Branch, and I'm also part of the Sustainability Committee. The Friends of Pheasant Branch is expressing support for the city's consideration of mandatory bird-friendly window guidelines. Glass collisions are one of the leading killers of birds in North America. In the U.S. alone, these collisions kill up to 1 billion birds, that's with a B, every year. If you start counting right now, it would take you nearly 32 years to count to 1 billion. A truly massive death toll that is largely preventable. Of these collisions, less than 1% happen on buildings that are over 12 stories tall. 54% occur on buildings that are between 4 and 11 stories tall, with the collision risk being greatest closest to the ground. And 46% occur on 1 to 3 story buildings, including homes. The good news is that right next door, Madison's bird-friendly window ordinance has been in effect for nearly 3 years. Bird-friendly building design is based on scientific research, architectural principles, and is a rapidly growing field. In addition, Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, now includes a bird collision deterrence credit to provide architects with design techniques and guidelines that will reduce collisions. There are many ways to reduce bird window collisions, including the installation of various types of glass that reduce reflections and increase the visibility of glass to birds, avoiding certain building features that are known to be serious collision risks, reducing the overall amount of glass, and more. Importantly, these solutions are attractive, barely perceptible, and they do not add significantly to project costs. Developers who have built in Madison during the last 3 years should have data on costs to build using bird-friendly glass. Rachel Carson once said, We in this generation must come to terms with nature, and I think we're challenged, as mankind has never been challenged before, to prove our maturity and our mastery, not of nature, but of ourselves. Bird-friendly glass is one area where we in Middleton can make a difference in the lives of thousands of birds. It is the right thing to do.
Thank you, Deb.
With that, the public hearing is, yes, sir.
Sorry, I was worried were you about to close it? Because I wanted to make sure that you list the ones in the packet, because those have not been listed.
My fault.
So there are 14 in the packet. Dan Borud, the 14 statements that are in the packet that was published and updated this afternoon. Dan Borud, Sharon Brummel, Bill Connors from Smart Growth Greater Madison, David Boyd, Pat Fraber, Todd Fraber, Angela Gibson, Middleton Beach Road Allen Team, Bill and Joan Richner, Susie Scudder, Jen Solderholm, Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance, Terrence Wall, and Jane Ann Wagenke. Those were in your packet. And that was before 3 p.m. today. And then after 3 o'clock, we received emails, and I think you all were copied, at least on the 3 that I received, from Jamie Flanagan, who opposes the zoning of the Allen Boulevard parcel. Megan Coughlin, 6218 Lakeview Boulevard, opposes the zoning of the same parcel. And Brian Lenz from the American Bird Conservancy in support of the bird-friendly glass regulations. So I just wanted to make sure those were part of the records.
Thank you. Going ahead to close that public hearing. Moving on, it is 8:47. The Mishkwi Peruvian Cuisine. Is there anyone here from? Okay. Is requesting a Class B fermented malt beverage and Class C wine license located at 1901 Cayuga Street, Suite 110, with Cynthia Garcia at 5864 Lean Road, Madison, Wisconsin, as the agent. With that, at 8:47, is there anyone here to make a comment? Hearing none, I'm going to close that public hearing. Moving on to the approval of the consent agenda as recommended to council by committee, commission, board. Number 1, the common council minutes of February 6th. Number 2, the audit of the bills to be paid. Number 3, the Mishkwi Peruvian Cuisine. Number 4, the stormwater management system maintenance agreement with Madison Development Corporation. Number 5, application to amend the agent for the alcohol beverage license held by Ultimate Mart. Number 6, application to amend the agent for the alcohol beverage license held by Circolo. Number 7, amendment number 3 to agreement with MSA for design and real estate services for Parmenter Street reconstruction. Number 8, agreement with Carrington Lawn and Landscape for landscaping at the main entrance of Pleasant View Golf Course. Number 9, agreement with Reserve Advisors for capital planning at Pleasant View Golf Course. Number 10, agreement with Norby Golf Course Design. Number 11, agreement with Middleton Gator Swim and Dive. And number 12, transit service agreement between the City of Madison and the City of Middleton. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, this is Hanairo, and I would like to pull number 11 for discussion and also clarify that items 9 and 10 are pending city attorney review and approval.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Mrs. Wilkus, I'll second.
All those in favor of approving 1 through 10 and 12, noting the 2 needing attorney approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Returning to, it was item 11?
Yes.
Is there a motion?
Yes. As recommended by the Finance Committee, I move to approve the agreement with Middleton Gators Swim and Dive, Inc. for the use of the Walter R. Bauman Aquatic Center, striking the words, I can't find the words. Striking the words, content of amplified sound should value diversity and respect for others. In paragraph F.
Is there a second?
Larman, second.
Any discussion?
I just wanted to explain that there's two parts to the sentence. One is about the positive, making sure that content of amplified sound should value diversity and respect for others. And then it went on to say it's not permitted to have basically hate speech. It's very easy to monitor and enforce not doing something. It's impossible to enforce being positive. So that was the reason for the change.
Thank you. All those in favor of the modified agreement as noted, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Moving on to miscellaneous real estate acquisition update and design preference for Parmenter Street reconstruction. Staff, can you provide background?
Six inches too short.
Yeah, so, and I think I can give you this in brief, but on the Parmenter Street reconstruction design and real estate acquisition, real estate has been going slower than anyone expected. And we're getting to the point where we're looking at reconstruction now in 2025 instead of 2024 because of that. But also, if we're not able to come to terms with some property owners and end up having to modify the design, we wanted to ask the question, well, what would we prefer to give up? What would be our plan B cross-section if we can't get there? And so we asked a couple of committees, Public Works, Plan Commission, Ped Bike Transit. They all gave reasonably consistent advice to the council, and that's what's in the packets here. With the upshot being that if push comes to shove and we have to narrow things up someplace, the preference would be to give up the median to the degree we have to, but not things like bike lanes, bike paths, sidewalks. So that's the guidance I've heard, and because committees are advisory, we wanted to bring that to the council.
Any thoughts?
I have a couple of motions. One's rather long, but Brian, could you bring up the memo from Sean? Because most of it is in there. I apologize for not sharing the wordy motion in advance. It would be Sean's submittal memo, I believe.
So it might be the, what do they call that?
Cover memo right here?
Wait.
Yeah.
This is it, the bottom
That
paragraph.
looks like it.
So much of the wording, all the wording comes from that, but it's not verbatim. So I move that we endorse continued efforts through July 1st, 2024 to acquire real estate interests needed for the current roadway elements of the Parmenter Street reconstruction project. And that if real estate interests are not acquired by that date, to modify the design to eliminate or reduce the width of the median, understanding that redesign would require an agreement amendment with MSA and that WISDOT would need to concur with the modified cross-section for amended state municipal agreement.
Schaefer will second that.
Any discussion?
Just a general question, how pervasive is this problem? How
Well, it's-
widespread,
It's pretty new, so it really all comes back down to the eminent domain court case that was recently decided.
With a lot of property owners, is it no?
I wouldn't say it's a lot. I would say it's, a handful that we have not yet reached agreement with.
Yeah, well, okay.
That-
I can read between the lines too.
That court case is on appeal too,
Yeah,
so.
all right. Nothing.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion stated, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
I have a second motion. I move to approve deferral of reconstruction to 2025 if necessary for any reason.
Is there a second?
I will second also.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to, as a backup to delay it if needed, is that, okay? Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Do you need anything else from us, or is that good?
No, that's plenty.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Chair, point of personal privilege. Maybe we have a 5-minute break?
Yes, ma'am. Do we need a second? Do we need a motion? Okay, 5-minute break, everyone.
Adjourn?
Don't go running.
We're done?
Are we live again?
Yep.
Okay, thank you so much. There's a lot going on, so I just appreciate everyone's patience tonight. We're moving on to ordinances. Since we're done with miscellaneous ordinances, it says, first reading, final action may be taken upon approval of motion to suspend rules under section 1.07 Middleton General Ordinances. Before we get to chapter 10, chapter 22, and chapter 33, which I do try to ask you guys to split out individually, because sometimes we do bump things together when we're talking. I'm going to ask city staff to provide some background. Thank you.
I'll be quick. Just for the benefit of everybody who's here, and I know the council's familiar with this, but I just thought I would recap a little bit. We started this process 2.5 years ago, kickoff meeting in August of 2021. Over the course of last year, 9 city committees and commissions reviewed the ordinance, the draft ordinance for the topics pertinent to their subject areas. We had 11 Plan Commission meetings in 2023 that culminated in the recommendation at their December 12th meeting. Also in 2023, we had 5 public open houses. Then, as you know, early this year, January 2nd, you got your first look at the ordinance. You reviewed the Plan Commission recommendations and requested a variety of changes, which we then prepared and brought to you at your January 16th meeting, which then was the current, which is the final draft in front of you. That's essentially unchanged since the January 16th meeting. So that was the first reading of the ordinance. After that, we, in consultation with the city attorney, we as staff concluded that the substantive changes made to the ordinance merited holding tonight's public hearing. So therefore, at your February 6th meeting, the council postponed action on the second reading and referred the matter to the Plan Commission, which last Tuesday reviewed the changes made since its previous recommendation and made no changes to it other than a couple of little typo changes that didn't affect the substance. So thus, what's before you tonight, the ordinance and map, the zoning ordinance, zoning map are essentially unchanged since the first reading held on January 16th. Just wanted to make another quick, well, actually, I'll leave it at that. I just want to provide that as context, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. I want to say that as I introduce chapter 10, I'll read it, ordinance to repeal and recreate chapter 10 zoning ordinance and official zoning map of the Middleton Municipal Code. I know that there's been some emails going back and forth about bird glass, some pro, some con. So I just want to make you aware that I went on site to see one of the places in Madison. If you haven't yet gone and see one, you may want to consider doing I'm sharing, you may want to go back to the November language of recommending. I don't have the specific language. That's one thing. I'm not against bird glass. I want to say that. I do care about the birds. However, when I was standing there, which is something that happened this summer when I was in another city, I actually had vertigo from the glass. And one of the things I wanted to do was see what it was like as a renter. And the one thing I did say to the property manager was, do you think that it affects vacancy on the lower levels that have it? And she said that people do prefer the higher. And so the reason I bring this all up is that as we hear from community members, whether it's a specific development that is being discussed tonight or other future infill projects, if you go with the required, there may be a reaction of developers wanting taller buildings because those are the ones without the bird glass. And therefore, our community will continue to have taller buildings. And right now, we already have enough interest in not having taller buildings. So just things to consider. I'm not animus, but it may need continued discussion is all I'm thinking on bird glass, but I may be wrong. And I just want to bring it up. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. I would like to move that we suspend the rules under section 1.075 and pass ordinances 1, 2, and 3, repealing and recreating chapters 10, 22, and 33.
Do we need to take them separately, Brian, for motions, or can she go ahead with this?
She can make it as a package motion. The council can decide
Okay,
if they want to
excellent.
agree to that or make any changes to it.
Thank you. Is there a second?
This is Jackson, I second.
Any discussion?
Can you restate that? Did you say just to repeal them or to?
I'm just
repeal-
suspending the rules and making this not just a first reading.
Okay, okay. To
For
repeal.
all-
Doesn't mean you have to vote on all three together, right?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought you
Oh,
were saying.
okay. Yeah, that's what I thought she was saying
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Point, just for clarification, so the purpose is to suspend the rules for this entire section on ordinances, not, okay.
All those in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion
Aye.
pass. Oh, thank you.
Sorry, it's
Se-
late.
7-1. Motion passes 7-1. Is there another motion from on the first one, ordinance to repeal and recreate chapter 10, the zoning ordinance and official zoning map of the Middleton Municipal Code?
This is Haniro. I move approval of the ordinance to repeal and recreate chapter 10 zoning ordinance and official zoning map of the Middleton Municipal Code.
Is there a second?
Nelson seconds.
Is there any comments?
I do have a clarifying question. Do we need to note to include these corrections?
That's coming.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. I would like to, I would move that we amend chapter 10, the zoning ordinance. If you all would consult the handout at your table and Brian, maybe bring it up. I'm not going to make amendment number 1 because I think it is an obvious typo. It doesn't really change. It only makes it intelligible. So I'm not concerned about that one. So my motion is that we strike the last 2 sentences in section 10.03.066 and also strike references to manufactured, in quotes, in section 10.03.0610A.
Second that.
Any discussion? All those in, oh, my apologies. Randall?
Yeah, and I guess my comment isn't with this amendment, so I can wait until if the vote is just about on the amendments right now.
Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, just hold for a minute. All those in favor of this language here, please
Does-
say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Is there another motion?
I would like to actually make a motion to revert back to the bird glass language, revert back to recommendation and should rather than require and shall.
Okay, is there a second?
This is Wilkes, I'll second.
Any discussion?
And I'll explain myself. I consider myself very bird friendly. My son goes out bird watching and bird listening because it's not always possible to see the birds, and I know that bird watching includes hearing the birds. And I live close to Pheasant Branch Conservancy, so I know the value of the birds in this particular part of the neighborhood. I do have concerns, and I know that Mr. Wall brought these up in a letter about the costs of bird-friendly glass. And so I've been struggling a little bit with balancing kind of my love of birds with affordable housing. And so that's my concern. And and requiring it. I don't necessarily buy into Mr. Wall's argument that no birds hit buildings in Middleton, because I know that they've hit my house. That happens occasionally, not a lot, but every once in a while. So I know that it does happen. And I don't know if in a lot of the reports that I saw that were included, I guess knowing specific numbers for Middleton or areas of Middleton, I think would be helpful. So I guess at this moment, I would like to go with the, recommending using bird safe glass rather than requiring it. So that's my reasoning on that.
Okay. Do we have language? I'm looking to the staff, and then if you don't have to read it for right now, but just in a moment. Alder Schaefer?
Yeah, with all due respect to Alder Crowe, I would like to keep it as mandatory. I have a good friend who's a very well-known developer in Madison. He's been living with us for 3 years and he thinks it's crazy we don't. He said it's very little impact and almost all the developers are just fine with it and working around it. And it's just not a big deal on it, Also, Gretchen, I think your comments were very telling too. And I know you do your work very hard. And so I feel, as Gretchen does, it being mandatory is more important. I have birds also that kill themselves in my house. So I will vote against this motion, not because I disagree with the windows, but because I want this to stay mandatory.
Nelson, then Henaro.
I'd like to propose a substitute motion that we keep the ordinance in chapter 10 as required for bird-friendly design standards.
I'll second that.
Can you help me? Is this when we do a discussion of that?
I missed the motion.
Yes, so you could do a substitute motion. Now, again, if you did that, it would bring it back to the language as it exists right now in the draft that's in front of you. So, another alternative would be to vote on the amendment that Alder Crowe had made and was seconded by Alder Wogas. If that would fail to pass, then we would be back at the same language as is in the current draft right now.
Well, the motion has been made and seconded, so we need to vote on the substitute motion.
Okay.
And if we're still discussing,
Yes.
I appreciated Alder Crowe's suggestion. I would note 3 things. One, since this is an ordinance, there's really no place for recommendations. This is required stuff in the ordinance, so the whole section would have to be removed, in my opinion. I too appreciated Gretchen's comments. I think we heard tonight that it could add, the bird-friendly glass could add hundreds of thousands of dollars to the cost of a building project. Unless we know the cost of the building project, that number doesn't mean anything. And that's why I thought the percentages, the very small percentages that Gretchen cited were telling. And then I will note that at the Plan Commission meeting last week, we have a running list of things in the zoning code that we either want to be able to research, such as low impact development and incorporating that, but don't have the time to do it now. Or maybe we suspect this might be an area where we're going to see some challenges in implementation. The mayor brought up the possibility of establishing an overlay to show a zone where such bird-friendly design or glass would be required, but no one on the commission is qualified to say what that zone should be. So we did put that on the list, keeping it the way it is now as required, but then noting for future research the possibility, seeing how implementation works, and then holding out the possibility that we could establish a zone.
I also want to acknowledge Alder Crowe's comments. I totally am with you on being a fan of the birds. And when I was first getting emails opposed to this bird-friendly design stuff, I started thinking that I should back down on it given that we are doing some lighting changes to our ordinances and we've got, a lot of lighting has to face down. But I also think that this city is not afraid of doing hard things. We're really good at being sustainable. We're trying to be leaders in sustainability. And we are some of the best birding in the Midwest in our Pheasant Branch flyway. And I feel like we should put our money where our mouth is.
I very much appreciated Mayor Kuhn's comments tonight, and I appreciate you doing the legwork and going out and visiting the glass. I saw the pictures. I can't remember if it was in a comment or if it was a comment from the public, but I have really bad vertigo, so I would have a problem. And I can very much appreciate being a renter. If we think about it from who's going to live in the building, developers are one thing. The community that's going to live there eventually is another. So I think that's the end use product. I struggle with it, and I appreciate your comments about corridors, flight corridors or certain areas of town that have more bird traffic, so to speak. So I'm torn because I don't want to see any buildings going taller than 4 stories in Middleton ever. That's just my take. And I don't think that, I don't know, I'm torn. This is a hard vote for me, but if there's no way that we can mandate that requirement going forward though, correct? We can make it a suggested thing that the city will do.
I think she's saying the opposite, that you can't suggest it. You either have to mandate. it or you
No,
don't.
she was saying that doing the studies for the overlay, and then also what the financial impacts might be. But I would like to see a study about the impact of, rent on the first floor, second floor apartments, if that really does impact. It'd be an interesting study to see.
Well, and to be fully disclosed, we didn't talk about doing a study of the impact on rents. We talked about considering the possibility of establishing a corridor
Right.
overlay.
And so my
But
suggestion would be to add that
to
into
add
that.
that,
I would like to see that, because again, that's the people who live in the building. Developers are one thing. It's the person who pays the rent and lives with it is another.
Abby, Mark, do we need a motion for that? Or is that something that can just be added to our,
I think that's just something to go back to the
Running
planning
list.
commission, right?
That wouldn't be germane as part of this discussion to add that on right now.
but that's a good suggestion.
Adding to the plan commission, the part of what we were talking about, and I do want to commend Commissioner Erdman Hermans with her passion and her research. She was very supportive of the birds, and I did give her a hard time. I will say that. So my apologies. One of the things I was trying to get to with this, with the flight pattern too, was that one of the people who were trying to advise us as builders is that they were accepting of the 2x4 pattern. And so my thought was maybe a happy middle would be 2x4 throughout the city. I might be misrecalling, and then do the 2x2 in the flight corridor. That would be another possibility because of the supposed extra cost of 2x2. I do have to tell you though, that's why I went out to see it, because if that was part of my argument, maybe there's a happy middle, what does it look like for the renter? And that is why I went. So what I would ask is that whether you pass it or not tonight, that you would go in person. And I want to say thank you to Alder Wokus for bringing up the renter's perspective. Because seeing like even a little square of it, I mean, I showed my daughter and she's like, polka dots, so sweet. And then she went in person and she's like, Mom, this is bad. You can't, it really, your eye starts to follow the dots, and they're not always placed equally. So it turns out Madison Yards has done a great job of doing it. So I would do almost a comparison. The one that I went to was downtown. I think it's called the Aria, but I can get the name. They said they'd be willing to give a tour to anyone interested that's an elected. And it's currently there up in the common areas. And then the higher floors don't have it. So you can see both and see what it's like for a renter. Now going back, what is our vote?
I had one
Sorry.
more comment. And I appreciate that you went and looked at this, and I don't have any research on how people with vertigo experience things like this. I will say though, as someone who's experienced this, what's worse than the dots on the windows is the smear of a bird that has impacted the glass. And if you're on a floor that's not the ground floor, you're stuck with that for a long time until the window gets washed. There are all kinds of things that affect windows. Windows get dirty. Screens spoil the image. I really feel like I appreciated Alder Nelson's statement that we should put our money where our mouth is. And that's why I'm going to support keeping this as a requirement, knowing that it will be looked at in the future.
I think Randall has his hand up.
Yeah, and just, I guess, and I am torn too. Like I said in my original comment, but I also believe that, we're striving to be a city that includes affordable housing. So that's my main concern. And I realize that developers have other ways to save money on buildings, but I don't want shortcuts made in other areas necessarily. This one seems like an area that developers could save some money. And I guess it's weighing the cost of losing so many birds a year versus how many apartments do we have where people can live and work in Middleton. And I don't know the calculation on that. I don't know how you calculate that.
Yeah, the other thing that one of the commissioners noted in the plan commission was that bird glass doesn't mean it's zero birds, but it is from what I've read from Madison developers is that there is a significant decrease. So kind of keep that in mind as well. But I was surprised. I kind of thought it went to 0 birds that died. That's actually not true. They still do fly into the glass. So I'm learning and I'm growing. Brian, can you read the motion? Or
Yeah,
the
sure.
substitute
So
motion?
where we sit at the moment is there's a substitute motion that's on the floor that's been moved and seconded. It would be to revert back to the mandatory language on bird safe glass. That's amending a previous motion that was made to revert the language to remove the mandatory, make it a should recommendation. So if the substitute motion is approved, then we'd be back to the language that exists in the draft that's currently in front of you.
Which is required.
Yep.
Okay.
Mandatory.
I'm thinking we need to do a roll call vote.
If the council would wish, that's fine.
That fine? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, give me 1 second.
And Madam Chair, could you restate the motion just so everybody knows which one we're voting on?
Yes, so the motion that is presently on the floor that we're voting on is a substitute motion that would revert the draft Chapter 10 language back to the mandatory language on bird safe glass.
I object to the word revert.
Yeah.
Because we're not changing it. Sorry.
From the previous,
Right, but we hadn't changed it, so I would say to preserve the mandatory language.
preserve.
So the motion on the floor is to simply
Keep it.
keep it as is, yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay, easy enough.
Okay, for roll call, Alder Schaefer,
Yes.
Alder Wokus,
No.
Alder Cole,
Yes.
Mayor Kuhn. I'm sorry,
Don't vote.
nope. Alder Nelson,
Yes.
Alder Jackson,
Yes.
Alder Hanairo,
Yes.
Alder Lorman,
Yes.
Alder Crow.
No.
Okay, that passes
6-2.
6-2, yes.
Then is there another motion?
Okay, so then just to
Oh,
give you the
sorry.
chain of events where we're at, so now that that language has been preserved, thank you. We go back to the other motion that's on the main motion that's on the floor. That's chapter 10, the amendment as it's been amended with both the preserving of the bird safe language and the amendment from Alder Hanairo with the amendment number 2 in the staff memo, the striking of the sentences pertaining to manufactured homes and single family dwelling units. So that's now the motion that's on the floor. The main chapter 10 as it's been amended twice. And just a reminder for the full body, the first motion that the council discussed when we initiated this topic was to suspend the rules for both chapter 10, chapter 22, and chapter 33. So any motion to approve this item that's on the floor would be considered the first and second reading. So the final action on this item.
Have we already voted final action on chapter 10?
No.
Nope, that's what's on the floor right now.
So that's what we're looking for, a motion?
Nope, the motion is on the floor, so
have a
discussion on
motion.
that.
So,
Motion.
I'm sorry. Randall's motion died.
That's correct.
Yes, because it was substituted by the motion to
Okay, so
preserve.
that was a
language.
substitute. Okay.
Yep. Yep, so just to repeat for the body, the motion that's on the floor is chapter 10, as it's been amended twice with the language in the staff memo from February 20th, the 2 striking of sentences related to manufacturer housing and single-family dwelling units, and the preservation of the bird safe language. That's all in there. So that's what
And
you're
everything else.
and everything else.
Okay, any comments?
I'm just going to reiterate that I appreciate all the planning staff has done for this ordinance. I am not happy with the zoning map, so I will not be in support.
Any other comments?
I support that support.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, just for ease of counting, I might perhaps ask if the council would be willing to do a roll call vote on this as well.
And that might be easier. Yes, thank you.
Just give me one moment.
I think we did that the last time. Or might- yeah,
Okay, so just for reiteration again, the motion that's on the floor is chapter 10 with all of the language and including the amendment to add the 2 tweaks of language from the February 20th memo and the preservation of the bird safe language. That's the motion on the floor. So we'll do roll call vote. Alder Schaefer?
No.
Okay. Alder Wokus?
No.
Alder Cole?
Aye.
Alder Nelson?
Aye.
Alder Jackson?
Aye.
Alder Hanairo?
Aye.
Alder Lorman?
Aye.
Alder Crow?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes 6-2. So chapter 10 of the zoning ordinance with the amendments that I've previously laid out has been approved in a first and second reading with the suspension of the rules.
Okay, moving on to ordinance to repeal and recreate chapter 22 signs of the Middleton Municipal Code.
This is Hanairo. I move that we approve ordinance to repeal and recreate chapter 22 signs of the Middleton Municipal Code.
Is there a second?
Schaefer seconds.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of ordinance to repeal and recreate chapter 22 signs, please say aye.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, just to emphasize, this is also the second, yep, okay. I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that the suspension of the rules still applies. Okay, sorry.
Thank you, I appreciate that. On chapter 22 signs, all those in favor of approving this ordinance, chapter 22, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Number 3, the ordinance to repeal and recreate chapter 33 outdoor lighting of the Middleton Municipal Code.
This is Hanairo. I move approval of ordinance to repeal and recreate chapter 33.
Is there a second?
Schaefer will second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the ordinance to repeal and recreate Chapter 33 outdoor lighting, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously. Next is the resolutions. Resolution 2024-07, public access and public water, sanitary sewer, and storm sewer easements for Bell Farm plat.
This is Wokus. I move approval on behalf of Public Works.
Is there a second?
This is Nairo. I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those who vote to approve Resolution 2024-07, public access and public water, sanitary sewer, and storms water sewer easements for Bell Farm plat, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next is the Resolution 2024-08, sanitary sewer and water main license agreement, Lake Ridge Bank, 8301 University Avenue.
Alder Crowe has his hand
Sorry,
up.
sorry, before we get to this, just a note for the record, Alder Randall Crowe needs to recuse himself from this item, so he will be placed in the virtual waiting room until we are done with this item. So give me
And I'll turn my camera off too.
I was gonna say, can you just turn the camera off?
no, I mean, you're supposed to physically remove yourself from the discussion, so we'll just do that.
Okay.
Thank you, Alder Crowe. Okay, for Resolution 2024-08, is there a motion?
This is Wokus. I'll move approval on behalf of Public Works.
Is there a second?
Nairo will second.
Any comments? All those in favor of approving Resolution 2024-08, sanitary sewer and water main license agreement, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Last is the committee appointments. The first is appointment of Lindsay Geezy, thank you, to the Arts Committee. Is there a motion?
This is Katie. I'll move approval.
Is there a second?
This is Jackson. I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving Ms. Geezy to the Arts Committee, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Number 2, appointment of Nathaniel Bond to the Zoning Board of Appeals, second alternate. Is there a motion?
Nelson will move approval.
Is there a second?
This is Wokus. I'll second.
Just so you know, he is a college student who is learning about construction.
Super cool.
Yeah, so learning about appeals, he's interested in learning more.
Just because I'm ignorant, what's a second alternate?
They don't have a voting right. I'm glad you're asking, because
Okay.
it took me a while to know. He will not have a voting right, which I thought would be great for college students unless so many people are gone, and then he's sort of a backup.
Thank you.
It'll be a good learning.
I lived as the second alternate for a while. So you go to the meetings, you learn a lot. Sometimes you get to vote.
Maybe you can say it better.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor of approving Nathaniel Bond to Zoning Board of Appeals, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Madam Chair, point of information before you move to adjournment, just to correct the record for the public hearing on the zoning ordinances. One item we neglected to mention during the recap of correspondence received. We did receive a letter from the town of Middleton on February 13th, 2024, pertaining to items with AIR district. So that is also part of the public record on this item.
I appreciate you noting the record.
It was included in the packet, but just forgot to
Yep.
mention it verbally.
Anything else that we need to make sure we cover, Brian?
I believe so.
With that, everyone, thank you.
Thank you.
Adjourned. Have a good night.